Hello friends, welcome back. In this tutorial we will study about function prototypes. As I have described in previous tutorial that in a C a program may consist of one or more than one functions. So in C a program must have at least main function, so it must have at least one function. So a program can have more than one functions. So what happens, suppose I have written some program and that program has many functions, right? In that program I have defined many functions along with the main function, right? So what happens, suppose these functions, whatever I have written, whatever I have defined, these functions are defined after the main function. And suppose in main function somewhere I am using these functions, right? Suppose in a main program I am calling a function which is defined after the main function. So in this case what happens, if there is a situation like this when a function is accessed within a main function, right? If it is accessed within the main function and the definition of the function, it is after the main function in the program, it is written after the main function, then this can be confusing to the compiler. So for that purpose compiler should be alerted first about the fact that the function which is going to be accessed within the main function, it is defined later after the main function within a program, right? So whenever there is a case like this, suppose after the main function I have given the definition of some function 1, right? And within the main function I am accessing this function, but its definition is given after the main function. So this can confuse the compiler. So for that purpose, so that the compiler doesn't get confused, what we need to do, we need to write a function prototype. So function prototype are written at the beginning of a program. They are written before the main function also, right? They are written at the beginning of the program, right? So these function prototypes, they are similar to the first line of function definition, right? So what happens, we need to write a function prototype in the starting of the program so that compiler doesn't get confused. So the compiler is alerted of the fact that the function which is accessed within a main function, it is defined later in the program after the main function somewhere within the program, right? So let us see how we can write the function prototype. First we need to write the data type. It specifies the data type of the value returned by the function. If the function does not return any value, then in place of data type we will use the keyword void. And after that, name of the function, and after that arguments along with their data type separated by the comma, as I have written here: type 1 argument 1, type 2 argument 2, so on up to type n argument n. So if the function has a formal argument, if the function definition has formal arguments, then I need to write these arguments here also, right? Type 1 argument 1, type 2 argument 2, along with their data types. I need to write the arguments also within the brackets if the function definition has formal arguments. If the function definition doesn't have formal arguments, then these brackets will be empty, right? Then there will be nothing inside the parentheses. These parentheses will be empty, right? So type 1 argument, type 1 arg1. So type 1 specifies the data type of argument 1. arg1 specifies the first formal argument of the which we specified in the first line of the function definition, right? So on up to type n argn. Suppose here I have considered that the first line of function definition has n formal arguments, right? Now see here, it is very similar to the first line of function definition, but here we can remove these arguments arg1, arg2, arg3. What are they? They are optional, we can remove that. But the data types of the arguments, right, data types of the arguments, it is necessary, right? Now for example, let us see an example of a function prototype. See here, this is the example of function prototype. Here int, it specifies that the value returned by this function sample will be of type int, right? Sample is the name of the function, and within the parenthesis there are two arguments a and b, right? Data type of argument a is int and data type of argument b is int. So this is the example of a function prototype. Now suppose I write it like this: int sample int and int, right? And they are separated by comma. As I told you before, that in function prototypes, when you write argument, these arguments are optional, but their data type is necessary. So here I have removed the arguments a and b because they are optional, but I need to write their data types in prototype, right?